Before we go any further, I'd like to remind you that AuxScout is Coast Guard speak for the Auxiliary Sea Scout Youth Development Program. No one is called an AuxScout. We work with Sea Scouts and need to be careful that we refer to the Scouts as Sea Scouts. If a Sea Scout is also an auxiliarist, they are called auxiliaris or Sea Scout auxiliaris. A Sea Scout member of an auxiliary chartered ship is called a Sea Scout. The 2018 MOA mandates several changes to how we work with Sea Scouts. These changes are codified in the AuxScout Standard Operating Procedure, or SOP, and are not incorporated yet into the Auxiliary Manual. The most important changes are as follows. Auxiliary flotillas and divisions can charter Sea Scout ships, but not troops, packs, or venturing crews. Sea Scouts as young as 14 years can join the auxiliary. For all others, the minimum auxiliary joining age is 17. A Sea Scout who joins the auxiliary must remain a Sea Scout member until at least their 17th birthday if they wish to continue their auxiliary membership. Sea Scouts and adult leaders who join the auxiliary have full access to training and qualifications available only internally to the auxiliary and the Coast Guard. Local flotillas are encouraged to provide public education training, vessel examination, and public affairs support to local ships. Auxiliaries can instruct Sea Scouts in a broad range of seamanship topics. Among the learning opportunities is auxiliary boat crew training. Information about this is available on AuxB Wiki. Additionally, requirements for auxiliary boat crew and other auxiliary member training courses have been compared to Sea Scout advancement requirements, and where they're the same or similar, that information is also available on AuxB Wiki. This makes it easy for auxiliary instructors to teach the Coast Guard's way of operating watercraft while helping Sea Scouts meet their rank requirements. Remember, one of our objectives is to work with the Sea Scouts to promote recreational boating safety. We can do this at boat shows, booths at boating supply stores and boat ramps, BSA Council Scout shows, and even Order of the Arrow events. A great place to start is to work with a local Sea Scout ship or Scout Council. Incidentally, I chose this photo because it shows Rear Admiral Smith, who at the time the photo was taken was the 5th District Commander, standing with Sea Scouts from Ship 16 in Portsmouth, Virginia. Admiral Smith is a big believer in the opportunities that this partnership offers. You're probably wondering whether it's necessary for your flotilla to charter a ship so that you can work with Sea Scouts. The short answer is no, it is not. There are hundreds of Sea Scout ships all over the country, and most would welcome the opportunity to work with you. This can be as informal as occasional visits to teach special subjects, such as navigation or radio communications, or a more formal commitment to provide auxiliaries as adult leaders and trainers, and setting up underway training opportunities on Sea Scout and auxiliary vessels. Building a partnership with one or more local ships can involve holding joint vessel exam events, public affairs, and public affairs booths, or informal training. And sorry, I just clicked the wrong button. Just give me a moment. There we go. No. There we go. Okay. That's what I wanted. Okay. Am I still sharing, by the way?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So a final thought on that. Remember that nothing is for free for either organization, and the bigger the effort, the more likely it is that you're going to have really good results for your flotilla and division. The AuxScout SOP also authorizes every flotilla and division to charter one Sea Scout ship each. That means that the Coast Guard Auxiliary could potentially organize over 800 new Sea Scout units. That would provide large membership increases to local auxiliary units. What would the auxiliary look like? It'd be much bigger, much younger, and much more able to help the Coast Guard than it currently does. I know that some of our older members are worried that working with Sea Scouts would mean babysitting immature Cub Scout aged children, but that's not who Sea Scouts are. Sea Scouts are older teenagers who are mostly the best and brightest kids in the neighborhood. They take responsibility for their actions, and they're not scared off from hard work or wearing uniforms. Sounds like a good addition to your flotilla, doesn't it? Don't forget that these Sea Scouts have parents who are mostly younger than the average Coast Guard auxiliarist. Once you get them involved, we'll have their help for a long, long time. Here are some other ways that we can work with Sea Scouts. Nearly every flotilla knows how to do public education, vessel safety checks, and public affairs. One of our goals is to make the Sea Scouts a better program, which in turn meets one of the Coast Guard's objectives for this partnership. If your flotilla can't charter a Sea Scout unit, which is called a ship, they can certainly put on a boating safety course or do VSCs for the Scout boats. One type of joint Sea Scout auxiliary activity that's been successfully held across the country for many years is called Safety at Sea. This event is usually staffed by Coast Guard active duty and auxiliary members. It provides the Sea Scouts with opportunities to learn safety techniques and train on equipment that they often don't have available to them. Skills include damage control trainers, firefighting, P6 pumps, man overboard drills, exposure suits, live flare training, radio communications, and marine environmental protection. Safety at sea events usually involve Coast Guard and auxiliary recruiter presentations. Everyone has a great time, and the Sea Scouts leave energized and enthused, and the Coasties and auxiliaries get a lot out of working together. I'd like to take a few moments now to review how we did in 2023. You're probably all familiar with comments about how we're making a difference as auxiliarists, but these are numbers that are tangible reflection of our accomplishments. First off, let's talk about how the Sea Scouts did in 2023. The Sea Scouts increased the number of units they have by 1, and the number of primary youth increased by 103, which is about a 5% increase. Only the Sea Scouts Exploring and Learning for Life had increases in membership during 2023. So that's pretty significant. Let's have a look now at the AuxScout program numbers. First off, we recorded nearly 28,000 hours in Aux data, which is nearly a 20% increase over 2022. The top 5 districts are 5th Southern, D7, 8th Coastal, D13, and 8th Eastern. It's worth noting, though, that just 2 flotillas in 8th Southern logged as many hours as the next 4 districts combined, and that the top serving flotilla 2525 in Washington, D.C., accounts for 100% of the net hours growth in 2023. So that's the good news. The bad news is that there were 2 districts that logged 0 hours in 2023 and another 3 that logged 400 or fewer hours. This could just mean that people aren't filling out their hours reports, but it also suggests that little effort is being made to support AuxScout in these 5 districts. The number of auxiliary chartered Sea Scout ships rose to 33, with 664 Sea Scout youth and adult members. This represents a 20% increase in membership over 2022. Before we pat ourselves on the back about this, though, we have 20 prospective new ships that we're tracking, but we haven't converted into new units. The districts with the largest number of ships are 5th Southern with 7 ships, 8th Coastal with 6 ships, 5th Northern with 4 ships. All of the districts in Atlantic East have at least 2 ships, and all of the Atlantic West districts have at least 1 ship. Unfortunately, currently only 1 Pacific Area district, 11th Southern, has a single ship. That means that 12 of the 16 districts are chartering ships and 4 haven't taken that first step. AuxData is able to track Sea Scouts who are also Coast Guard auxiliaries. As of the first of the year, there were 215 Sea Scout auxiliaries flagged in AuxData. When the new membership application is eventually updated, there will be a Sea Scout checkbox on the form. We don't know when that new form will be available. Having that checkbox will help us to track the key demographic more accurately. In the meantime, if you're aware of a Sea Scout auxiliarist whose Sea Scout membership isn't flagged in AuxData, your DSO-AS, Ron Blaisdell, or I can update the AuxData record. It's really simple to do, and it only takes about 10 seconds to do for each person. Your DIROX is able to record certain BSA training completions in your AuxData training records. This doesn't happen automatically, though. You have to send the completion record to your DIROX office for them to input. And yes, I know that there are some districts that handle it another way. Talk to your DSO-AS to confirm what way your DIROX office wants this handled. As of today, 490 auxiliaries have completed youth protection training. 52 have completed Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training. 50 have completed Safety Afloat Training. And 42 have completed Safe Swim Defense Training. In each of these categories, 5th Southern is the top district. I'd like to point out that there are about 170 auxiliaries who serve in either an AuxScout staff officer position or on the National Youth Programs Division staff. All of us are required to complete youth protection and Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training as a part of our job requirements. The fact that only 52 auxiliaries total have completed the Sea Scout Adult Leader Training tells me that most AuxScout staff officers have not met this basic job requirement. Please take care of this week. It'll only take you about 4 hours and does not include a test. It's quick and easy. And if you don't have a single 4 hours to sit down through this, it has 8 modules, so you can do them in roughly 30-minute chunks. Finally, there are a few other measures of the AuxScout program in 2023. We held 15 AuxScout workshops and Coast Guard Tech Talks, all of which are delivered online and are available on YouTube. 6 Sea Scouts embarked aboard the Bark Eagles summer training cruise. 3 Sea Scouts participated in AIM Week, and there were 7 Safety at Sea events around the country. Okay, so we really had a good year in 2023. 2023 is now in our rearview mirror, and it's time to focus on 2024. Let's take a few minutes to explore with you what is involved in serving as an AuxScout staff officer. You've been appointed to a leadership position. Just because you are staff doesn't mean that you aren't officers or leaders. You are both. Your unit leader is looking to you to lead AuxScout in your district, division, or flotilla. That means that your commander wants you to be the AuxScout expert, and that won't happen just because you put on new shoulder boards. You're expected to take training. You're expected to know what online resources available and to know what those resources say. Master your job and you'll be able to make a difference for the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Know your job. The first thing you need to know to be successful in your job is to know what your job is. Pretty basic, right? You should start with knowing your job description and becoming familiar with all of the training and resources that go with it. I apologize that the type on this page is too small for you to read. If you go to the page referenced here, you'll find your job description, a sample district strategic plan, a report form template for your job, and a link to what resources are available. If you haven't done so already, visit this in the next day or so. And I would like to say that for those of you who have been using the online reporting form, we are migrating to another form. And in the meantime, we'd like to ask you to use the PDF forms that you'll find at the address on the screen. If your district requires you to use a different form to report up the chain of leadership, please go ahead and use your district's form. We'll be happy to take your report that way. If they don't have a prescribed report form, please use the one that you find at this address. Get on top of your job. Serving as a staff officer at whatever level is a leadership position. Someone has given you the responsibility to become the AuxScout expert in your unit. Your job is to get to know the program well, encourage other auxiliaries to get involved, and help them make the connections with the Sea Scouts. Develop an AuxScout plan for the year and establish specific goals. Goals without a plan is just wishful thinking. Know what you plan to accomplish and then figure out what needs to happen to make your goals work. Never miss an opportunity to talk up AuxScout to your shipmates. Your monthly report shouldn't simply be a recitation of phone calls you made. Build a picture of what you're working on with the Sea Scouts and explain how that will help your unit be successful. Be sure to promote like crazy. Communicate early and often. You should be talking and not just emailing with the next person up and down the chain of leadership and management at least once a month. You should be doing the same with the next person below you. Your district's DSO tries to talk with all of the AuxScout ADSOs, SOs, and FSOs throughout his or her district every month. I'm talking about my district's DSO, and I know that there are some other district DSOs who are doing the same. She touches bases with our district commodore and chief of staff. They know what's going on and know that the AuxScout staff are delivering the goods for the district. Help them see that AuxScout is the solution and not a burden. There are report templates for all of your positions on AuxScout.com. We'll talk about online reporting in a little bit. If you haven't already done so, you should get to know the AuxScout Memorandum of Agreement, or MOA, and the Standard Operating Procedure, or SOP. They're both online. If you haven't already watched it, check out the AuxScout workshop number 201, which explains the SOP in detail. The SOP outlines how we should be working with the Sea Scouts. You are expected to know what both of these documents say backwards and forwards. The Auxiliaries National Youth Programs Division is part of Student Programs, or S Directorate. It's responsible for providing program oversight for AuxScout. We work directly with your DSO-AS and are there to provide policy direction and resources. I would encourage you to work with your chain of leadership to find answers to your questions. When in doubt, though, please reach out to my staff and to me, and we'll be glad to help. Make sure that you copy your chain of leadership and management so that they're aware of the question and the answer. Throughout the year, we hold meetings and workshops to stay on top of the AuxScout program and help you get better at your job. Let's start with the meetings. Our AuxScout all-staff forums are held quarterly at 2100 Eastern Time on the second Monday of the month. These forums are for all AuxScout staff, as well as anyone with an interest in how the auxiliary supports the Sea Scouts. If your flotilla commander would like to attend, please invite them. Please go ahead and invite your local Sea Scout Council Commodore. We want your questions, so please send them in ahead of time. The Youth Programs Division and the DSO-ASs also meet quarterly about 6 weeks ahead of the all-staff forums. ADSOs are encouraged to attend, and if an FSO-AS would like to join us, please send them an invitation. These meetings are also held at 2100 Eastern Time. Finally, we hold a much more informal meeting with the youth programs branch chiefs in months where there is no all-staff forum. This is a very small meeting. If a question or concern comes up that should be referred to this group, please send your question through your chain of leadership and management. So this is a list of the district teams. Each of the district teams should be meeting as a group on a regular basis, at least quarterly. Please check with Arnie, Bart, or John Michael to find out when these meetings will be. As a reminder, Arnie, Bart, and John Michael are there to help you. If you have a challenge, problem, concern, question, or simply need help, please email or call them. Let's take a moment to review what training is required for AuxScout staff officers. As you know, the Coast Guard is serious about getting auxiliarists BSA youth protection trained. They would like everyone to take YPT, and certain jobs require it. The online training takes about 90 minutes, and it's very informative. From my own experience, I can tell you that I learned a lot about not only protecting young people, but also protecting myself. I received a question recently about whether it's possible to take YPT training any other way than the website listed on the screen. BSA is committed to ensuring that youth protection training is delivered word for word in a consistent manner. The only nationally sanctioned version of YPT training is online at my.scouting.org. The former instructor-led course materials have been withdrawn for several years and are no longer authorized. If you have any questions about this, though, please contact your local Scout Service Center and ask to speak with the Council Training Chair. He or she should be able to tell you what the policy is in the local council. I've heard that some people are reluctant to take online training for a number of reasons. In situations like that, I would encourage them to buddy up with someone who is more comfortable with using a computer. They may even want to ask for help from their grandchildren in completing the requirements. Hopefully that all makes sense. The SOP also calls for AuxScout staff officers and youth program staff to complete additional training. If you haven't already done so, please complete the Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training. It's available online on the BSA Learning Center at my.scouting.org. It takes about 4 hours to complete. When you're finished, save a copy of your completion certificate and have your flotilla commander send a copy of your to your DIROX for entry into your AUX data training record. This is a one-time requirement. Just to be clear, all AuxScout staff officers at all levels must complete this training. And to go back to the youth protection training, that has to be completed every 24 months. The Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training, on the other hand, is a one and done training course. After completing Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training, please consider taking Sea Badge, a weekend training seminar that provides Sea Scout leadership training in depth. You'll learn a lot, and I promise you'll have fun. Sea Badge is offered as both a single weekend in-person course as well as a 2-weekend online course at a very low cost. Upcoming courses can be found on the Sea Scout website. Please check it out. Finally, check out AuxBWiki and the AuxScout YouTube channel for additional training videos and workshops. The SOP calls for some additional training in certain situations. When Sea Scouts are involved in swimming-related activities associated with the auxiliary paddlecraft or AuxPAD program training, then at least one adult must hold the BSA Safe Swim Defense training certification. This can be fulfilled by a Sea Scout leader, but it will be the responsibility of the auxiliarist mission commander to ensure that this training has been done. Similarly, if Sea Scouts participate in a mission involving an auxiliary surface facility, then at least one adult must hold current BSA safety afloat and CPR training certification prior to commencing the mission with Sea Scouts. Again, this can be fulfilled by a Sea Scout leader, but it will be the responsibility of the auxiliarist mission commander to ensure that the training has been done. Both BSA Safe Swim Defense and BSA Safety Afloat training are available online, and each takes about 30 minutes to complete. There are several important resources that you need to be thoroughly familiar with, and at this point, I will turn the floor over to Ron to talk about these resources.
Good evening, everybody. Hope that everyone's having a good reception. We have 68 participants currently on board with us. We had 105 register, but we only have 68 who joined us. So, hey, welcome aboard. Next slide, please. Okay. For a very long time, our primary page for finding anything you really need to know about Sea Scouting or about the AuxScout program and Sea Scouting has been AuxBWiki. And we have been using that for a long time because actually, as you might tell, it belongs to the B directorate, which at one time Bruce was actually the director for a long time ago. But obviously, we're not in the B directorate anymore. We're in the S directorate. They would like to shut down AuxBWiki. So we are in the process of moving all the data from AuxBWiki over to our own website. So we're going to talk about both of those things here tonight. But, this is all some kind of basic information. By the way, this exact welcoming that you see right here happens to be on AuxScout.com. So, you know, this piece of information is directly available there. And the FAQ has already been moved along with a number of resources. So a lot of those already exist. I'll just pop over here and share that page with you if I can. There's my share screen. It's always fun when you go to share screen and
I'm going to stop
Okay.
screen sharing so that you can. Go
Yep.
ahead.
okay. I think I should have it. Does everybody seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is AuxScout.com. It's a site that's currently highly in development. We're always adding new material because we also have to go through the process of editing material that's been sitting out on Oxby Wiki for a while. So there's a lot of individual editing that goes into it as we go. But the nice thing is I mentioned, you know, that information on the recognition is all there. Some things on here still link back to Oxby Wiki. As we get those pages moved over, they'll link over to this site here. When we are finally done, what we're going to do is we're going to provide the B directorate with a special server file that's going to allow any links from Oxby Wiki to be redirected back over to our site. So that's all part of the process. I imagine it's going to take them a few months to get that done, but SpeedWiki should still be around for a while, so don't worry about it if you haven't figured out yet that AuxScout.com is going to be the new home of everything. Here's that welcome that I talked about that's on Oxby Wiki, all the same information. You'll note that there's also a link down here to the most recent videos from our YouTube channel. This was our last Coast Guard Tech Talk was on AuxPad and how paddling can help your Sea Scout ship. It was a really good presentation with Dr. Robin Pope, which it always is with Dr. Pope. If you've never had a business talk with him. We also have other links here. As you can see, we have our social media links to Facebook, to Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it today, YouTube and Instagram. There's the resources page that's been mentioned a few times tonight already. This has all of the job descriptions, the report templates, and then those governance documents that we talked about, the MOA, the standard operating procedure, a link to the training on the standard operating procedure, and even an executive summary. So that information is all currently located in the resources page. The entire suite of FAQs has already been moved over. You'll note that the FAQs have search. So if there's a particular topic that you're looking for within one of these categories, you can really shorten it down very quickly by doing this, because some of these categories are pretty long, others are not as long. But you know, it's always good to know that you know you can actually just if I type in here YPT and training, then the only things I'm going to see in training have to do with YPT. Okay, so it takes out all the other things that are normally listed there, like safe swim defense and those other things. But it's very handy to be able to search that way through that. We have tried our best to make sure we've updated all of the pieces that are in the FAQ. That took a lot of time. And then we also have a link to our media library. I'm going to open this in another tab just because it's a little bit easier sometimes. If you've never been to our media library, we have over 1,600 photos that are ready and legal for you to use. We have releases on all of these individuals. So therefore, they're perfectly fine as you see faces. And I know lots of times you don't see faces at Sea Scouts. Everybody in the pictures, whether they're a Sea Scout or if they're an auxiliarist, are in proper uniform. So we've tried to make sure that we've had all of those things in common when we look these over. So, you know, these actually have metadata on them and you can search them, which is always kind of handy if you're trying to find something in particular. We have a lot of photos from some of the different safety at sea events, which is really great. We even have one of our national flagship from a couple of years ago was an auxiliary sponsored ship. And so we got some photos from them being presented their national flagship back in 2021. So, you know, there's a lot of different pieces out here, a lot of photos, like I said, 1,600 odd photos. So there's a lot of material that is available out here on the media site. But this is our new page. More resources will be coming, more pages. A lot of them are currently sitting in draft. You just don't see them. They just have to be edited and to get them ready to go live. So this is the new site that we have here. So Bruce, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing, providing I can find my Zoom controls to do that. Here it is. Okay, there we go.
Okay, and let me
Thank
just
you,
get
sir.
the right view on my screen.
Yep.
Think
I think we're
that's,
good. You just go to the next slide.
yeah, I just have to get to the right
Yep.
place on, oh, here, I think if I click that, there we go. Okay,
Okay, there's the media library. We've already talked about that. Like I said, 1,600 plus. There's our list of resources that we talked about. This is really handy because it's one spot you can go. You can find the MOA. You can find the standard operating procedure. There's training on the standard. All that stuff is in one spot. So it's very easy for you to find all this, including the report format. So the templates for the reports are included here. Very handy. Let's talk for a second about hours reporting because Bruce highlighted the hours reporting. I don't think a singular day goes or a singular meeting goes by when I don't get to talk about hours reporting. So all of our AuxScout related time should be reported. Okay. If you are not a Sea Scouter, okay, not registered with the Boy Scouts of America as a member of the Sea Scout program, if you're working with Sea Scouts as an auxiliarist, then you record your time using the operations code AUXSCO1, and only for that time that you're actually working with Sea Scout. Okay. On the other hand, those of us who are registered Sea Scouters, and there's a bunch of us who are registered Sea Scouters, everything we do, everything should have the AUXSCO2 code applied to it. Why do we do that? Well, one, especially we want Coast Guard auxiliary to understand and the Coast Guard to understand how much we are bringing to the table. How many, and we actually do this on a monthly basis, and the DSOs see this information, as do, of course, the current chiefs. But you know, we break this down. We'll tell you how many hours were in operation, how many hours were public affairs, how many hours, how many vessel exams were done, how many program visitations were done. So we actually go through the whole litany of all the various categories of AuxScout or of Aux data 2 hours. There we go. There's some of the mission codes. And we break this all down and we report it out every month on a monthly basis. So it is really handy to be able to show the value we are bringing to the AuxScout program. So it's really important. We ask you to record your time. If you're a non-Sea Scouter and you're representing the auxiliary to the Sea Scout, that's 10J. Okay, Comro. If on the other hand, I am actually participating in a Sea Scout meeting and I'm a Sea Scout registered Sea Scouter, then my time is actually 99A because it's part of my job. And I happen to also be a DSO and an FSO and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these, use these things regularly. If you have a question, feel free to drop me a note. I'm actually trained in IS. So although I'm not functioning as one, I am trained in IS. So I know I've been through all the training. I have all the guidebook. I can walk you through a lot of things pretty easily. But just remember, if you're a Sea Scouter or a Sea Scout who's a registered auxiliary, you want to use AUXSCO2. If you're not, then AUXSCO1. Pat is asking a question, what about C partners? If you're doing C partners instead, you would use the C partners code. You can only do one operations code, unfortunately. What I teach where code 14, 14X is just Alex. Code 14X is basically just a generic mention for all the different types of public education courses. They each have different letters. So there's 14A, there's 14B, there's 14C. So 14X just refers to public education courses, that's all. Here is the CScout website. This just was updated recently, by the way. We got a new template. It is located at cscout.org. And so we've kind of made the template match the rest of the Boy Scouts of America templates. We had our own. We've now kind of fallen in line, if you will. But it is a very robust site. I will not tell you that something didn't get missed in the conversion over to the new site. So if you're looking for something and you don't find it, feel free to drop a note to their help desk, and they will help you find whatever you're looking for. They actually do have a help desk. It's on the About tab, as a matter of fact. So, but they can help you out with that. This is our CScout ship map. It is at the AuxScout map under tinyURL. It includes both flotillas as well as CScout ships, independent of each other, by the way. And I will tell you, it is a labor of love for all of us who spend time going through updating the information on these maps. I will do a shout out for Monique Wong, our DSO-AS from the 7th District, for all the extra work she did to help with a number of the other districts than her own recently when we were doing an update of all the flotillas. And I really appreciate the extra help that she was able to provide with that. So it is a great list, and you can see there's even ships down in Puerto Rico where there are also flotillas. So, you know, they're a little bit of everywhere. You'd be really quite surprised, including some of the Far East. We also have a Dropbox. If you do not have access to the Dropbox yet, please drop a note to either myself or Bruce. Let us know. We will get you access to the Dropbox. The Dropbox contains a ton of fantastic information. It's always being updated. Tonight's presentation will be in there eventually. We'll actually have it recorded, obviously, and it will be on our YouTube channel. But the actual physical presentation will be out there. You can see there's lots of different things like BSA fiscal policy and BSA insurance, and you can see them listed there. So there's a lot of really great things that are out there. You know, this is a big resource for those of us when we're looking for information that maybe we don't know where it's located at. Next slide, please.
Ron, this is Holly.
Yeah.
Before you go
Holly.
further, there
Sure.
was a question in chat. Can you see that one from Dennis Harris?
Dennis Harris. Did I miss one that went by? Oh, there it is. If you're an adult Sea Scout working as an interpreter for the Coast Guard, you would code that as AUXSCO2, operations code.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Holly. I missed that one. We actually have a Google group for communicating out to our various groups. If you wish to be added to one of the Google group, you can contact Bruce. He has all of that information out there already. As you can see, we have 168 members in the AuxScout group. So it's a big group, but it doesn't get, you know, we don't bombard it with traffic. Okay, we try to make sure the information we share is reasonable, and you know you're not getting spammed by 10,000 messages a day. So it's a very handy group to have. Next slide, sir. And then we have our Facebook page. This is our Facebook group. Sorry, I get confused some days. We do have our own group on Facebook. If you're not a member of our AuxScout group, we encourage you to become part of our AuxScout group. And if you're not a member of the Sea Scout group, we encourage you to join that one too. Although the information will be a lot the same between the two of them. Obviously, we focus more on the auxiliary sponsored Sea Scout ship, but training information gets shared on both. So any of that type of stuff, if you want to go to Sea Badge and you want to find out when the next Sea Badge class, usually they end up being posted on the Facebook group. So they're really great places to go see. Next slide, please. This is our YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys are aware that recently, last year, YouTube came out with this great little short address form. So we managed to snag at AuxScout. So it makes it a whole lot easier to do youtube.com/@AuxScout rather than trying to type out this gigantic URL that we had. But you can get to our list. We have a QR code right there on the screen as well. But we have a lot of great videos out there. If you are not subscribed to our channel, please do become a subscriber. And as they like to say, ring the bell, because that will tell you, send you a notice when new videos get posted, and you won't have to go find them all on your own. Makes a big difference, really does. I only have 320 subscribers. We really should have more than that.
No,
because of-
actually, as of today, we have 1,000.
Ooh, okay. Hey, we crossed that good number. That's great.
Yes.
So in the world of YouTube, having 1,000 subscribers is a heck of a number, to tell you truthfully. So that's great news. But I would encourage you, if you're not a member, one of the subscribers, please become one. Because like I said, when we finish this video, we'll edit up the video from tonight, and then we'll get it posted out onto our YouTube group. So, this is where you're going to find it. So just so you know, that's the place to go look. Next slide, sir.
And this is where we transition to John Reese. Thank you very much, Ron. I'd like to introduce John Reese, our marketing guy, who will talk with you about the importance of telling our story. John?
All right, thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Ron, for going over our YouTube channel, which is one of our social media channels, along with our Facebook group, which I believe most of you probably are already members of. I also want to give a shout out to our Instagram account, which is usually used for marketing to the young people. Now, I won't take that much time tonight. I want you to know that the auxiliary has recently updated its social media policy, and all of your PAs and PBs should be aware of that. What I would like the DSOs and ADSOs to do is work with the public affairs team in your districts and divisions and flotillas to promote the AuxScout program within the auxiliary itself. There still is a lot of, I don't want to say apathy, but perhaps wariness of the AuxScout program with some of the older salts in the auxiliary. And we want to make sure that that gets taken care of. So I want you to promote. Bruce mentioned that you should always be promoting. And that's true. That's what you should do. So just work with the public affairs team for social media. Also work with your PBs for newsletters. Work with the Sea Scout groups for their newsletters and their websites too, to promote the AuxScout program within your groups. And if you don't have a PA or PB in your flotilla, and you do have a youth member, a Sea Scout as on the team, why don't you make them the PA? They probably know social media better than you do, and would be better equipped to handle that. So that's something that you could do. And that's about it. Also, the YouTube channel is also a great resource for your flotilla training too. So if you have some time at the end of your flotilla meeting to kill and you want to get some training done, turn on one of our videos and you'll get that taken care of. That's really all I have to say, Bruce. I'll turn it back to you unless anybody has some questions at the end. I'll stick around for that too. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, thank you very much, John. And with that, we'll pass the baton over to PJ O'Neill, who heads up our STEM training team. PJ, you want to take it away?
Well, good evening, everyone. I'll just inform Ron I cannot turn on my camera because the host has stopped it, but that is my picture and that is me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the key program within STEM training right now is the Tech Talk program. Oh, great. I can start my video. I am actually here. So the purpose is to provide training not only to Sea Scouts, but to flotillas. Tech Talks are advertised primarily through our Facebook page, and this is where we need your help. The event is advertised in our Facebook group, and as many of us know, the Sea Scout youth typically are not subscribed to Facebook. They use other forms of social media. So getting the word out about the Tech Talk topic, the date and time is really important for an AuxScout officer at every level. And again, that's not just getting the information out to your Sea Scout counterpart, which is fantastic, but also getting the information out to your flotilla or your division. We'll talk a little bit more about why that's important in a minute here. So the Tech Talks are held via Zoom webinar. So you get a link and you can log in and be a live participant in the Tech Talk. The Tech Talk is a different topic each month presented by a subject matter expert. And there's an opportunity for questions and answers at the end of the Tech Talk. Some of the most rich Tech Talk experiences come from the Tech Talk that has the most participants. But for people that can't participate live or they find out about the event after the fact, all of our Tech Talks are recorded and they're posted to two YouTube channels, the AuxScout YouTube channel, which you've heard a lot about this evening, and the Sea Scout YouTube channel. I primarily interact with the AuxScout YouTube channel, but they are housed there forever. And so they are an excellent source of free on-demand training. And that's a point I want to make. I've heard over the past years a trend that is starting, and I really think this is an opportunity for AuxScout officers to enrich their flotillas and divisions. Pretty much every Tech Talk will have at least some part, if not the whole Tech Talk presentation, that is applicable for training for your flotilla or your division. The topics are so varied. I won't belabor this, but just listen to some of the recent topics and think, could there be anything remotely interesting and useful for my flotilla? How about interacting with the head engineer for Eastern Shipbuilding Company, which has the sole contract with the U.S. Coast Guard to produce the new fleet of offshore patrol cutters? How about radar systems, right, presented by the National Radar Center? Or understanding nautical charts presented by a commissioned officer in the NOAA Corps, who does a very good job of walking us through the new online charts and how to simply create custom charts for your patrols and for your area of operation or area of responsibility. How about paddlecraft safety, underwater submersible vehicles? Or how about an ANACO giving a talk on deck plate leadership? So those are some of the topics that, I just wanted to throw out there so that we understand the AuxScout program, but to pass along the information to your flotillas, especially if there's any resistance or there's not a lot of active participation between your flotilla or division with Sea Scouts. This is an AuxScout program that every auxiliarist can participate in just by virtue of using the high quality free training. And it's a very low impact gateway into interacting with the AuxScout program. And again, in the live Zoom session, in attendance, there are going to be auxiliarists, there are going to be Sea Scouts and Sea Scout adult leaders. So at least virtually, this can be a first good introduction without staking too much in the beginning. Next slide.
PJ, this is Holly.
Yes, Holly.
There was a question about what the topic will be for January.
Oh, I can go over January, February, and March briefly. January will be yours truly, the science and safety of cooking afloat. I'm an aux chef, by the way, and have done quite a bit of work on afloat and underway. So I'm mixing the science and safety, which is sometimes the missed point while whether you're on a day cruiser or you're a merchant mariner. So that will be January. February, we're having Lieutenant Commander Doig from NOAA presenting on nautical marine charts. It is a repeat topic from last year. However, it was highly well received and underattended. And so we're hoping to get the word out about that, particularly because he's very willing to walk people through the new online charts and how to create your custom charts. And in March, we'll be having a former Sea Scout who attended a maritime academy, who is now in the merchant mariner, kind of walk us through his experience from scouting to his professional career. And one last note about Tech Talks: they are consistently held on the fourth Tuesday of each month at 2100 hours. So same time, same place, to make that easy to remember. A few other opportunities that directly impact the Sea Scouts themselves, which are not virtual typically. The Eagle Summer Cruise. I know one of our branch assistants, James Wolf, is on the committee to screen the applications, but the important part about this from our end is getting the summer cruise as soon as the promotional materials come out. While John Reese does a fantastic job, we can't just rely on John's public affairs efforts. We really have to promote the application process, because the time period that these students are in, they and their parents are scheduling their year out through the summer and perhaps through the fall. And we don't want eligible and interested Sea Scouts missing out on a world-class training opportunity, a life-changing opportunity. So as soon as the published materials come out for application for the summer cruise, that's when you want to make sure that that all your Sea Scout ships are aware that the application is out, the information is out, and how they can access that. And similar, I think next up is AIM.
Yes. And we don't have a separate slide for that.
Right. So AIM in short is the Academy Introduction Mission. I know I will be corrected if I'm wrong, but I believe last year there were 3 in-person sessions and 1 virtual session. AIM takes place, if it's in person, at the Coast Guard Academy in New London. And similar, the application process is thorough, and the Coast Guard Academy blocks off billets or spots specifically for Sea Scout applicants, right? They can be set apart. It's not the sole way for a Sea Scout to apply, but it is the best way, because those spots are reserved for Sea Scouts. The program will take place for the Sea Scout between their junior and senior year of high school. And again, I can't overemphasize just how critical it is to, once the published materials are out, how critical it is to get the information into hands of Sea Scouts and their parents, because in late winter, they're going to already be blocking off their summer plans. And so again, we don't want any of the Sea Scouts to miss out on an opportunity to spend a week at the Coast Guard Academy.
Okay, thank you very much, PJ.
Turn it back over to Bruce.
Yes, and I will actually turn it over to Peter Sargent, who is the National Sea Scout Resource Advisor on the National Sea Scout Committee, who is going to start this discussion on building relationships with local Scout councils.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you.
You need to start my camera, though, or allow me to start my camera. No, I'm going to start my video. All right, so let's go to the next page. So let's talk.
Peter, we're hearing a strong echo.
Okay,
No,
so,
I know
then
what that
that's
is.
it.
How's that? Is that better?
Much better.
So first of all, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. As Bruce said, I'm a colleague of Bruce on the National Sea Scout Committee. My job is primarily to work with the councils, which are the organizational model at the local area within across the country for how Boy Scouts deliver the program. So let's talk about each of you. If you sponsor a ship, you are what the Boy Scouts of America refer to as a chartered organization. And you have, these kind of 5 key responsibilities to worry about. And there should be somebody within your organization that is identified as a chartered organization rep who is making sure that the leaders are selected appropriately. You're all youth protection trained. You've taken all your Sea Scout adult leader basic training. And again, the Boy Scouts, like any other large organization, we have different names. You have one version of the names, we have a different version of the name. Charter organization rep. Number 5 is 4 and 5 are the key things to think about in terms of the end of the day. You're trying to deliver the program to the youth. So provide meeting facilities if they need to do that, and obviously encourage an active outdoor program. Next slide, please. Who you should know and why. All right. So I'm going to give you the title of a professional. So there are professional staff in the Boy Scouts of America, paid professionals, and depending on the interaction you have, I would say you need to know the district's executive, the field director, or the director of field services. Any one of those may exist. Well, certainly the district executive will exist in your council. The other councils may have the other 2, depending on the size of the councils. And you may need to get to know them because they can answer day-to-day stuff for you. And it's process and procedure kind of stuff. How do I register a new kid? How do I do these types of things? How do I register a new adult? Because just because you're registered in the Coast Guard Auxiliary does not mean you're registered in the Boy Scouts of America. There are 2 pieces that have to get done. And, we go through this every year. The other one is a volunteer. Council Commodore. That is a volunteer. Many, because of some changes in the BSA nomenclature over the last several years, where you tend to see us start going after calling them the Council Sea Scout Committee Chair, but they are the same person, and they will help you interact with interactions across the council, particularly with other ships, because they're going to be bringing together the other ships into meetings to encourage crosstalk and cross-fertilization between the ships. Next slide, please. Again, Council Commodore, Council Sea Scout Committee Chair. What are they on? They own the delivery of the Sea Scout program across the council. They should be holding periodic meetings with the skippers and other leaders to cover topics of interest across the Sea Scouts. Here I live in Austin, and I know I see Bart once a month because he comes to our Council Commodore's monthly Sea Scout committee meetings. We just finished a multi-unit Sea Scout event within the council, and the Council Commodore, coordinated that happening, working with the youth. And the other one to remember, and you'll hear this phrase used a lot in scouting, particularly in the older youth programs like Sea Scouts Venturing and Exploring. But in this case, we host and advises the council quarterdeck. We refer to the council quarterdeck is in fact the youth leaders of the ships. And that's important because, like the multi-unit event that we just had, had in our council, that was actually run by the youth. yes, an adult had to deal with the paperwork because there's, going and buying, food for several hundred people is not, working with the council, signing contracts and things like that. But in terms of planning the content and making sure we had all the instructors, that was actually the council quarterdeck that did that work. And I will be posting the event bosun's video I shot of her just yesterday talking about some of that work here onto the cscout.org YouTube channel. Next slide, please. Two other key committees. Now, there are lots of, we have, like any other large organization, we have several committees. Bruce has the relationships committee, which is why I'm here. But one of the key ones is the National Sea Scout Membership Committee. So that's Tom Trefny, on another colleague of ours, Bruce and mine. Provides support to the new ships organizers when requested. So you'll see him poking around, him and his team poking around and seeing what's going on in each of the councils. Tracks the health of the individual ships program, so they talk to the ships, and we have some tools allow them to do that. Ship rechartering. This is what I just talked about earlier, rechartering and re-registration that has to be handled at least annually. And then myself. So I am, the title is National Sea Scout Resource Advisor. Basically, my job is to support the council commodores and the councils around the country. So I host the quarterly Sea Scout roundtables, much like Bruce handles his quarterly meetings. I have my quarterly meetings for the roundtables. And then I act as a clearinghouse for information between the local councils and the National Sea Scout Committee, because some question will come up at the council level. I'll give you an example. We had one, it's a bit of a downer, but it was an interesting one to go handle. We actually had to figure out how to, a youth had completed all the paperwork, including the border review for their quartermaster last fall, and then was in a car accident and died before it could be awarded. How do you handle the posthumous awarding of advancement? In this case, the quartermaster. That came to me. It's a bit of a downer, but those are the types of questions I get on a regular basis. Is there another slide, Bruce? Am I done?
You're done. I get to take over from here. But thank you very much. And please stay on if you're able to. And
absolutely.
If there are questions for you, we'd love to have you answer them.
I will be here.
What I'm going to do now is to talk about the flip side of the same thing. Your role as an AuxScout staff officer and working with the Scouts. We're all salesmen for the AuxScout program to both BSA and the auxiliary. A successful salesman knows their product, its capabilities, limitations, and how it can benefit their client or customer. They're also patient and they persevere. We have an excellent product, the AuxScout program, that meets all of our clients' and customers' needs. But if they don't have their confidence, and if you don't have their confidence and are not trusted by them, your chances of getting a sale are not very good. So you need to know the program well, be enthusiastic about the product, know how the AuxScout program will benefit our customers, know what the AuxScout program won't do, and don't oversell it, and get to know your customer and become a trusted advisor. So as a DSO, how do I engage with the Sea Scouts? Contact the Sea Scout membership team members in your district. Note that the BSA term National Service Territory has just been replaced in the last couple of months by the term Council Service Territory. The Sea Scouts are providing support through the National Sea Scout membership team, and actually the members of that team are assigned by state as opposed to council service territories. Get to know them and build a relationship. Find out what concerns or problems that he or she has for the Sea Scout program in their states. Get a list of council commodores and/or council contacts. Match the councils to your divisions. Contact your division staff officers and understand what their capabilities are. Match Sea Scout needs to division capabilities. And very important, have regular meetings with your SOs and FSOs and invite and encourage council commodores to attend. As a division staff officer, how do I engage with Sea Scouts? Know what the capabilities and capacities to work with Sea Scouts are in your division. From information provided by your DSO, establish contact with council commodores in your division, get to know them. If possible, attend council Sea Scout roundtables if they have them. Encourage your FSOs to attend the council Sea Scout roundtable if you can't. Establish lines of communication with the active duty Coast Guard, whether directly with an active duty member or indirectly through your division's contacts. And be prepared to assist with multi-council or division-wide Sea Scout Coast Guard events, such as Safety at Sea. Finally, as a flotilla staff officer, how do I engage with the Sea Scouts? Get to know the ships in your AOR and their leaders. Attend ship meetings. Listen to what their concerns are. Become a familiar face to the ships, district, and council in your area of responsibility. Find out what the ship's needs are and match them to your flotilla's capabilities and capacities. Never oversell the auxiliary. If your flotilla can't meet all of the ship's needs, help them where you can and provide help from other flotillas in the area that can fill in where the other needs are. Have an inventory of lesson plans ready to use for teaching the Sea Scouts. Use the Sea Scout Advancement Crosswalk as a starting point. Don't try to have everything ready for all of the areas. I've heard from a DSO who's working with a flotilla that wanted to know what a flotilla is committing to if they decide that they want to charter a ship. This is a really good question and certainly shows a reasonable concern about honoring commitments. Here's my take on the question. The list on the left reflects the bare minimums that the flotilla or division should be taking on. You will be providing at least one key adult leader. You will also help recruit others. You will monitor the ship's program to ensure that they're following BSA and Coast Guard rules. The biggie, you'll ensure that BSA's youth protection rules are followed. You'll provide program support as appropriate, and you'll help with finding meeting place. The list on the right are some of the thoughts about things a flotilla or division should consider taking on. You should provide several adults. You could provide several adults on a part-time basis. This needn't be their only auxiliary job, and it could simply mean helping out once a month. Help get the scouts out on the water. Provide structured training. This can simply mean helping with a single Sea Scout advancement requirement. It could mean putting on a PE course. You should help promote the unit. A good place to do this is at boat shows where you're promoting boating safety. And at least one is particularly important and fun. Hold training and joint social events like picnics or banquets. Just important is what you're not committing to. The flotilla or division is not committing to provide operating funds. The scouts will raise the money themselves. BSA has rules for how that should be done. You do not have to give boats to the Sea Scouts. The Sea Scout ship I organized in Maryland a few years ago owned no boats for the first 5 years of its operation. They simply borrowed them from boat owners who wanted to get out on the water more and didn't mind doing it with teenagers. You are not committing to pay Coast Guard auxiliary dues for Sea Scout adults. You may want to consider waiving flotilla dues for the Sea Scout youth. Remember that the national auxiliary dues for auxiliaries under 18 years old are reduced by 50%. You're not committing to pay for auxiliary or Sea Scout uniforms. That said, most flotillas recycle uniforms from members who are no longer wearing them. Why not give them to the scouts? I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about developing new ship leads. Organizing ships really is pretty easy to do. You just have to decide that you'll work through the process and not let the opportunity drop. Here's my 5-step method for making it happen. Step 1, find a flotilla or division that may be interested in working with Sea Scouts. Once you've identified the unit, check in with them often, at least once every other week. Don't wait for them to make the next move. It's really easy for them to get busy with other things. The local council, Sea Scout leadership cadre, or professional staff can help with the paperwork. Step 2, help them identify adult leadership and get them trained. The leadership can come from within the flotilla or division, or there may be others in the area with an interest in safe boating or scouts who can take up leadership roles. Not all jobs are time-consuming, and doing a good job at finding adults will help make each job easier. Make sure that they take youth protection and Sea Scout adult leader basic training. Step 3, advertise, advertise, and advertise. Start at least 6 weeks in advance. Places to tell people about your program, date, location, and time include social media. Facebook will target parents of potential members. Instagram and Twitter is much better for reaching youth. Scout district roundtables and newsletters. Get help from your district leaders. Newsletters and bulletins in churches, HOAs, and civic organizations. And community bulletin boards, virtual and physical. Search Facebook for interest groups, moms clubs, neighborhood groups, and so on. Step 4, and this is something I think we all tend to forget about doing, have fun. Make sure you start on time, watch for the introverts and make sure they have, that they make a friend, and follow all BSA safety rules. And then finally, step 5, close the deal. Have a sign-up sheet to make sure that you have emails, phone numbers, and so on. Bring BSA youth applications to the event and encourage people to join. Impulse shopping can be really fun. Follow up with a phone call or email within 48 hours. Have a second event planned already with another ship, or even just a movie night or ice cream social. Search for teen games or ask teens popular things they've done at youth groups or other clubs to break the ice. And don't wait for the minimum 5 youths to join before you get active. You'll lose the leads you have. Finally, turn in paperwork quickly. Whatever initial enthusiasm there is will fade unless you keep the ball rolling. Don't expect that people working on starting the ships will follow through. They just won't. That's your job. I'd like to sum up some of the key points from this workshop. There's no getting around the fact that supporting Sea Scouts will take time and effort. The best way to address that reality is to plan and prepare. Be honest about what you can do, build partnerships and relationships with other groups, and finally, just do your best. You may be asking yourself, what do we get out of this? The potential rewards for the auxiliary are very high. Partnerships help the auxiliary spread its boating safety message. We can encourage the next generation of boaters by giving them the tools to boat safely. We can motivate and challenge our community's youth. We can introduce interested citizens to learn Coast Guard missions and recruit them to be to the Coast Guard family. This creates a wide outward ripple of support for the Coast Guard and the auxiliary. Here are some links to important resources that we've mentioned in this workshop. Don't worry about copying them down. The following page has a link to call to all of them. And this is the link. All of the links that we've mentioned in the workshop are on this page. And Holly is copying this URL into chat right now. So just copy it down and download to the page. It's a PDF page that has all the links on it, and you'll be able to just click the links in the PDF. So thanks so much for your efforts. These are trying times. How we deal with them says as much about us as anything else. You can make a difference. Your enthusiasm will help to build a stronger Coast Guard auxiliary with more younger boaters involved than ever before. We're doing this for the Sea Scouts, but we're also doing this for ourselves. I'm really proud to be working with you. Please let me know how I can help you. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and ask if there are any questions that haven't been answered. So I'm going to go to gallery. All right. So are there any questions that we need to cover that we haven't covered yet?
Well, I do have an issue I'd like to mention.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the idea is that the youth are basically running the program and deciding what they want to do and training themselves, kind of thing.
That's the premise within the construct of the Sea Scout program. So it's not just a do whatever you feel like doing. It's the Sea Scout program, but led by the youth and advised by their adult leaders.
Right. So here's the issue. Okay, my goal is to get scouts ready for patrols or patrols ready to take scouts. You know what I mean?
I do.
So like, the Boy Scouts have merit badge counselors, and in the Coast Guard, crewmen have to be signed off by their ops officer or somebody. So somebody is certifying people that they are ready to be a crewman, right?
Right.
Okay, so I guess the concern we have on our small ship is that, okay, so these guys are going through whatever it is they're doing for their training, but who is certifying that they are trained?
Well, there are two answers to that. First of all, if the if other scouts participating in this activity have already completed the rank that the scout you're talking about is working on, then they can sign them off, or it could be an adult leader, or it could be an auxiliarist.
I would like to see the auxiliarists be able or be more involved in, signing off on some of these whatever.
no reason not to. But
Yeah.
of course, that puts a premium on making sure that the auxiliarist has taken the Sea Scout adult leader basic training, because it's important for them to understand, you know, what our standards are and what the method is. And I think I heard Peter wanting to jump in.
No, I was agreeing with you, Bruce. It's actually not any different than Scouts BSA, except the youth that have completed the rank can sign off on it. There are no merit badges unless they are already first class, in which case they follow the exact same merit badge process as Scouts BSA does.
And if a Sea Scout is working on a merit badge, which incidentally is not a part of the Sea Scout program, but Sea Scouts can also be working on Scouts BSA advancement if they want. Merit badges are signed off by merit badge counselors, and the local Scout district can actually, the Scout should know how to be able to hook into the local Scout district's counselor cadre.
Yeah.
Hey, Bruce, this is Joyce from 511. I was trying to get a lot of my AUX members that have special interest and special abilities to sign up as merit badge counselors. So like I have a ham radio operator, and I said, hey, why don't we get you to sign up as a merit badge counselor, and you sign up as a scouter? It's only $25 to sign up as a merit badge counselor, and then you can recruit by offering ham radio at the flotilla.
That's a
And so
great
we've been
idea.
trying to do that.
Absolutely.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
That's Hank. We've been encouraging not only our Sea Scout leaders, but also auxiliaries to do exactly that. In fact, we are merit badge counselors in several areas. So it's very strongly agree with that, because it puts the auxiliary in front of the scouts, and it puts the Sea Scouts in front of the scouts to progress on.
You see, this is all perfect. One of the challenges that we have, and now I'm talking about the auxiliary, is that not many young people know about the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And whether they join us or just view us as friends will really depend on our reaching out to them and making them understand that we are the good guys, that we care about them, we care about their safety, and we want to help them to learn how to be good, safe, competent boaters. And there's no substitute for that personal interaction. So what you're suggesting is perfect. That's exactly what we want to be doing.
Bruce,
Yes, sir.
This is Bill Eisenhower. As a matter of fact, I was a Sea Scout in 1957, so I've been around a while. Recently, I was asked by a Boy Scout troop here in Pennsylvania to do a presentation to the Boy Scouts that were going to Sea Base. I don't know whether you're familiar with the Sea Base program.
Very much so, yes.
And so I put together a 2-hour presentation on sailing, introduction, and that type of thing. Things that are not normally taught in the Coast Guard boating safety, which is mainly motorboats. But I didn't hear anybody mention anything about maybe working with the Boy Scout councils for the scout troops that may be going to Sea Base.
That is a great idea. If you look at AuxB Wiki, there's a fair amount of information about other things that we can be doing with scouts, and that is one of them. Merit badge counseling is another. We can provide boating safety instruction to anybody, not just Sea Scouts, but we can do it to any member of the public, and certainly other members of the Boy Scouts of America. We are, it's not just okay, it's a good thing to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I hadn't heard anything about it or seen it, so I just thought I would mention it. And that 2-hour presentation was well received, and they went to Sea Base and had a great time. So that's just something to have in a back burner. But thank you.
Excellent. Yes, that's a great idea. Thank you.
There is one point on that to kind of add. There is a water safety and kids program. It's about a 45-minute presentation. And last year and in past years, we have reached out to the various Cub Scout packs because that's the age group it's oriented to. And we have taught classes specifically for Scouts based on water safety, and that's a Coast Guard approved course. We also get into the schools and teach those courses. Last year we did over 1,000 students. So there are other ways to reach in.
I don't want to suggest that Sea Scouts is the only BSA program that does any on the water activities. That's not the case. Cub Scouts have on the water activities. Scouts BSA have on the water activities. Both of those are very structured, and it's easy for us to provide education to them that would be meaningful to their programs. I'm certain that there are some venturing crews that do things on the water, and I would be surprised if there weren't some exploring units. I know that there are maritime explorer clubs that are basically prep groups for Sea Scout ships. So all of those programs, there is an interest in boating safety, and if you are of a mind to reach out to your local BSA Scouts BSA troop or a Cub Pack, I would suspect they would be very happy to hear from you.
Yeah, Bruce, I know of one fire EMS explorer post that actually has, because of the fire department where they meet is actually the dock for the fire ship that they take out to if there's fire on the water in the docking area. But I would also point out, remember earlier I mentioned the district executives, the director of field services, the field director. If you have things you want to talk to with the other programs, they're your primary contacts for reaching into, whether it's Cub Scouts, Scouts BSA, venturing, Sea Scouts, or exploring. I will also say it's not atypical. The peer to the council Sea Scout committee chair or the council Commodore is the council venturing committee chair, the council scouting committee chair, and the council Cub Scout committee chair. They talk to each other, at least in many councils, on a more often than once a month. They're always talking to each other. They want to do major programs.
And I want to mention two more strategies that I think should be helpful to people. One is that if your flotilla or division is putting on public education in your area, use the scouts, not just the Sea Scouts, but your local scout district or whatever, to publicize the availability of that training. That would be a great way to reach out to multiple troops that might be going to Florida Sea Base. Another strategy is providing vessel safety checks for boats at the local council scout camp. Holly and I go to our council scout camp every year, and we do over 150 vessel safety checks for the canoes, kayaks, rowboats, sailboats, and so on. The camp ranger loves us for coming up and doing that. We tell him what needs to be worked on the boats so that they can do that during the off season. It also helps them to document what they're doing to ensure the safety of the scouts during the summer camp program. So that builds a lot of goodwill for the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary with the local Scout Council and the Scout Camp. So both of those are easy to do and get really good benefit for us. Any other questions or comments? I really appreciate that 58 people have hung in an hour and 3/4 into this workshop. Are we wearing people down at this point?
A long time ago.
Well, I don't have anything else I particularly had in mind. I do want to emphasize, we really appreciate what you're doing. I know that it feels a little bit like, you know, you don't have an awful lot of people working with you on the AuxScout program, but there are about 170 of us around the country, and we're here to help you. You are really making a difference doing what you're doing. It is noticed by people. I know that my district Commodore is really excited about the AuxScout program in my district. That's in part because the DSO does a really great job of reminding him of what we're up to. But you know, we're really delivering the goods for the Coast Guard and the auxiliary, and it's only through your hard work and leadership that it's happening. So thank you very much for what you're doing. Any other last minute thoughts?